Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO DPC Technology, and I've got a really cool one today. Today we're going to review the new G6 Dome. As you may know, at DPC Technology, we put cameras in for our clients. And one of the philosophies that we have at DPC Technology is to limit our technology stacks. And what that means is that if a certain manufacturer maybe offers 10 or 20 different options, we try and limit those number of options. It makes it easier for us to install technology because our employees only know 3 or 4 products as opposed to 20 products. It makes it easier for us to support them. It makes it easier for us to troubleshoot and RMA them. And it also makes it easier for us to inventory them. And that comes in handy when something breaks and we want to do an advanced RMA, meaning it broke. We need to go out there and fix this camera now. We don't want to wait for another one to come. We just need to go today and fix the camera or whatever technology it is. Or B, it also is nice to have them in stock so that if somebody orders them and they want us to come out next Tuesday, we don't have to worry about, is it going to get here in time? So those are the reasons we try to limit our stack. And you may be saying, Clay, what does that have to do with the G6 Dome? Well, we typically over the years have limited ourselves to pretty much doing domes and bullets in our installs. And a couple years ago, they came out with the turrets. And so we started using the turrets. So for us, unless there's been a reason to use like a 360 or a PTZ or a higher quality camera in a certain area that maybe does LPR or something along those lines, we basically have stuck with the base model all the way back to the AirCam days. And, like a G3 dome, a G4 dome, G5 dome, those have been kind of our table stakes. Like those are the things that we use all the time. So for us, when a new version like the G6 Dome comes out, it's exciting days because for us, typically this will be the go-to camera for us in our lineup, along with the G6 turret and the G6 bullet. So with that, let's do a quick unboxing. You'll see Andrew's going to unbox it real quick for us. Very typical UniFi packaging, beautifully done. On first inspection, the G6 Dome looks more similar to the AI Dome than it does to the previous G5 Dome. It's got a cover on it that you have to unscrew with the included screwdriver, and you remove that to give you access where the Cat6 cable plugs into the camera itself. The reset button is also in here, and obviously the adjustments, meaning your pan and your tilt and your rotation of the unit itself. It also has a lanyard, so if you're working over your head and you're going to do those adjustments, you can let the cover kind of just hang there. It does have a new mounting plate. The metal plate will go above the ceiling or the ceiling tile, and the black plate will go below the ceiling tile, and the camera itself just rotates onto that black plate. It's a really simple process, and there's a little release hole on the side that you push the tool into to be able to rotate it and release the camera. Two other things to note: there is a desiccant pack included, so you can put that inside of the camera to help with any fogging issues that you may have. That's just an absorbent material that goes inside the camera that will stop that fogging. And two, there is a set of grommets and a little nut and a wrench so that you can make this weatherproof. So the grommet goes over your Cat6 cable, then into the hole, and then the nut goes over the grommet and just screws down and over the hole there with the included wrench. The G6 Dome is IP66 weather rating and IK10 tamper-proof. So it is more tamper-proof than the G6 bullet and the G6 turret. So with that, I'm going to have Andrew throw it up on the test rig. And now let's jump into the computer real quick, and I'm going to go over some comparisons with the existing cameras and see where this fits in the lineup. So I'm going to compare it to the AI Dome, which is the camera I think it most fairly compares to. In the G6 bullet, the G6 turret, and it's going to be replacing in our lineup the G5 Dome. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that one in there as well. So for me, it's fitting somewhere right here in the lineup, in between the AI Dome and the G6 bullet. And I'll go over the reasons why there. The image sensor is the same as it is in the G6 bullet and the G6 turret, and in the AI Dome for that matter. A very nice sensor. It's a little bit wider and a little bit shorter than the AI Dome in size, but almost in every other aspect other than the IRR night vision distance, which is at 30 meters as well for the G6 bullet, it's a very similar setup to the AI Dome. You can see here the specs are all very, very similar across here, except for the G5 Dome, which is again a 4 megapixel versus an 8 megapixel with the other sensor, and we'll get into that when we do the comparison. Other than that, it's very similar to the AI Dome for all its features. The things it's missing that the AI Dome has is it doesn't have edge recording. It's a 10-100 gigabit NIC instead of a gigabit NIC, which that will make zero difference in real world use case. And the IR distance is 30 meters instead of 40 meters. Other than that, it is a very similar spec-wise camera to the AI Dome. The pre-release pricing that I have right now for the G6 Dome is going to be $279, which makes it fit right in between these two. And I think that makes it a really compelling option. You're getting almost all the features of the AI Dome for $120 less. And conversely, you're paying $80 more than the G6 bullet and the G6 turret for the additional tamper-proof and tamper-resistance. You are paying $100 more than the G5 Dome, but you're getting a ton more features than the G5 Dome. You're getting the bigger sensor, you're getting all the AI features. So with that comparison out of the way, let's jump in and see what they look like to the eyeball. So I've got 6 cameras up right now. I've got the G6 Dome in the big view. I've got the AI Dome, then the G5 Dome, then the G5 Dome Ultra, and the G5 Turret Ultra, and the AI turret. I think the biggest practical comparisons are going to be these three at the top here, the AI Dome versus the G6 Dome, which one should you buy? Or, the quality comparison with the generation change between the G5 and the G6. The AI turret's another option, and for us, the G6 turret would be another option. I did not put the G6 turret on the test bench right now, but because it's using the same sensor as the G6 Dome, I would bet that it is going to be a very similar view. Really quickly, I'm going to jump into the camera to show you the basic settings here. Obviously, an overview, you get an overview of the camera itself. Under recording settings, we can change a bunch of things. When to record, I'm on always. Recording mode, you can take that continuous. Events only. Adaptive will make it lower quality until things are, it needs to be a higher quality when things are happening. That's kind of, if you have a limited space, that's a nice feature to add in there. Create motion events, create AI events. We got video detections here. I've got them all on, but you can, if you don't have them all there, you can click in a blank area. I always suggest when you get a new camera here to click down here because there may be things that aren't clicked by default. Audio detections. I've got baby crying, barking, car alarm, car horn, CO2, carbon monoxide alarm, glass breakage, siren, smoke alarm, speaking, and I can click select all. And I've got them all selected. On audio detections, you can increase or decrease the seconds added before or after detections, the frames per second, the video compression, encoding, recording resolution. I usually like to put the camera name on each camera. It helps on YouTube, but you could put time, logo, bitrate, and you can also change its location on the screen. You can set your recording retention. I always have it on auto, and your detection zones and privacy blackouts. If you want me to do an updated video on those, let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to do one. And then settings is the last category. I could change the name of the dome. I could set the microphone. I can go into the image tuning and just kind of add sharpness or brightness or HDR or whatever onto there. Microphone levels, disable when recording and noise reduction on that microphone. I can also disable it permanently. Under night vision, you got auto, custom. Auto means it's automatically going to turn into night mode or IR mode. Custom, you can set the sensitivity to that. IR filters and LED. That means it's going to turn the sensor over into IR mode and turn on the IR LEDs, or I can do the IR filter only. And I can also turn on or off the camera status light. I can create tags for this camera. I can go to the live stream. I can also go to advanced here and go to resolution, manage restart. I will show you one other thing here under image tuning that is kind of important and a neat new feature here. There's something called hallway mode, which is great for interior cameras. If I was going to put this camera in a hallway, I could turn it, the actual lens itself, I could rotate the lens into portrait orientation. Then I would come in here and turn it on hallway mode, and you'll see the sensor here in a moment will flip to portrait. This is super awesome. Basically, it gets rid of the wasted data on either side of an image. And you can see if I was down a hallway, it gets rid of the wasted area on the sides and gives you a better look down that hallway. And that's a really nice addition and something that certain people are really going to enjoy having that if you are shooting straight up and down a hall. So the first thing that's jumping out at me right off the bat is that during the daytime in normal lighting, these are all really good images. I'll go to the G5 Dome Ultra, which is the least expensive one here. And that's a really nice image. You'll see down in the details when you get a really small writing, like the handwriting on the side of those boxes, the older sensor, the G5 Turret Ultra and the G5 both have that same 2 megapixel sensor. It's harder to read that smaller writing. And when you go to the newer sensors, that writing is much more visible when you get down to these smaller levels. I will say to my eye, the AI Dome looks a little bit better than the G6 Dome does straight out of the box. Because they're using the same sensor though, I think a little bit of that has to do just with the tone. So if I went into settings here, I could go into image tuning and go down here and maybe go to high on my HDR to brighten it up a little bit. That did brighten up quite a bit. See what that looks like. So, you could play with things there. That turning the HDR onto high though will give you some issues sometimes with nighttime imagery. So I'll go ahead and turn that back off. But I also could come down in here and just maybe brighten it up a little bit. I typically run with everything in neutral settings, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that back here. But I do notice some qualitative differences at baseline between those two cameras, but I do think I could easily edit it out with a little bit of image tuning. This AI turret's also same sensor, very nice image. I think the headline here for me is during the day, I'm not seeing a ton of difference between all of these. If I'm pixel peeping, obviously the older sensor, I'm going here in G5 Dome and I'll just go to the clock over here. And it says, I think it says 1258 if I can make that out. But if I go to the newer sensor and I zoom in there, I can clearly see 1258. So does that make a difference to you in your installation? It might. If I was buying it new, I would definitely buy the $100 more camera. I think that sensor is nicer, but is it worth the price difference, for an upgrade? I don't think so. You can also see it in the checkerboards on the floor, and that's probably going to be amplified at night. That some of that contrasty stuff you're going to get with the bigger sensor is going to be apparent. But the big thing for me on the new G6 Dome is going to be the detections, and you can see the overlay here. I've got face, person, vehicle, vehicle type, vehicle color, license plate, animal, confidence level, and idle time. So I'm being able to identify people by face and by license plate on here, but I don't get the option to do those detections here in the G5 Dome. I will tell you there is a cheat code, and I am working with that cheat code right now. If I go into the camera itself, I do have an AI key and an AI port on this network, and I can add those detections here because I can do them with third party. So if you do have G5 domes, you can add license plate and face detection on that camera. If you want to do, I don't necessarily need to do the license plates because it's inside, but I can add those to the G5 Dome if I do have a port or a key. So that is also a consideration. But first look during the day, I think these cameras are so evenly matched. I think it's starting to get like cell phones where you don't necessarily need to do every update to get every feature. The G5 is pretty close to the G6 here, just straight up in a head-to-head fight. The G6 is clearly a better camera, and if you're going to buy one today, I would buy it just for the AI features in the clearer image. But it's not such a big jump. It's like, if you use an iPhone or a Pixel, going from a Pixel 8 to a Pixel 9 probably isn't as big a deal as it was going from a Pixel 2 to a Pixel 3. Same thing with the iPhone. The gains are more marginal here, and most of them are going to be in the software and the AI features that you can either use or not use with the cameras. But with that, I did do some footage last night, so let's jump and look at that footage real quick, and we'll come back here and we'll wrap this up. All right, so here it is in the evening, and you see I've got 6 of the cameras up. So I've got the G6 Dome, the AI Dome, the G5 Dome, the G5 Dome Ultra, the G5 Turret Ultra, and the AI Turret. I will tell you a couple things about my office is my office never gets completely dark. It is very dark in my office right now, but there are some lights in the reception room that are always on, and they cast a light in here. There also are lights on for the switch that is controlling this, and there are some phantom lights, like obviously the switches over there in the rack, and the ENVR with the LED front panel on it is obviously casting some light over there. But I will quickly go into the settings here on the G6 Dome, and I will show you what it looks like if I come out of night mode here, and we'll go out here and we'll go into trigger threshold, and then we'll go back. So you can see here without night vision on, it's almost, you can't see anything. And if you're walking around here, it would be dangerous. You would trip over something if you didn't know that it was there. So just for a frame of reference there, let me go ahead and put this back into IR mode. None of the IR in any of the cameras is on right now. The reason I do that is because in my office, the residual amount of light that's in there right now is really good. You can see here with the IR emitter on that I am getting a cast here. It is up against the ceiling there, so I'm getting a little bit of reflection back from the ceiling, but I actually prefer that image a ton more with that off. I'll play with that a little bit too. This is the first night I've had that up there, and I think I can get that looking better, but for now, I'm going to turn it off because I think it looks better off than it does on. All right, everybody, I'm jumping back in here. This is actually the next night, and I went back in and I did a couple things to tune that image under IRs. So this is the G6 Dome, and if I go into settings here, you can see that I have IR emitter and LED on right now, and you can see how much clearer that image looks. If you scroll back in the video to the previous footage, I had that big boomerang in here and kind of a milky overcast on this. And what I did to fix this is I took the cover off and I took the little glasses cleaner pads that you can just get at the drugstore, and I cleaned the outside and the inside of the glass on the cover. And then I reseated the cover, and you can see the difference is night and day. This is crystal clear through that cover. And I'll show you what it looks like. This is my AI dome that I did not clean, and I should do the same thing on it. And this is that kind of milkiness that I'm talking about with a dome. This is a really good lesson. It's one over the years I've struggled with a little bit. If you get that milkiness in a dome, you just need to clean the inside and the outside of that plastic cover. You can see on the G5 dome, it also looks pretty nice. And that's all I did to do that. Again, that's always a struggle with domes. You have that piece of glass in front of the IR emitter, so you always are going to have to deal with that glass really needing to be really clean. If you get a fingerprint on it or the glass gets a little dusty, you might need to get up there occasionally and clean it off so that you don't get something that looks like that. So with that, we'll jump back into the previous footage. You'll see when I go over into the G5 dome in the G5 Ultra Dome in the G5 turret with a 2 megapixel sensor, there's just a little less definition in the details. You come into these boxes, it's just a little harder to read Dell Technologies there. You see it here in the carpet where these tiles are really well defined, and the G6 where they're not as well defined in the G5. And on the G6 Dome, again, if I go in that Dell Technologies, I can just read that. That's, completely legible, where I have to kind of infer, and here I can kind of get to it, but not quite. So obviously, that's a world of difference there. And this is the G5 Dome Ultra, and this is the G5 Turret Ultra. But all of them are similar. They a little bit less definition in the carpet, but on stationary stuff, if I'm looking at all of these images here, I probably would say I like the AI turret and the AI dome a little bit more because they're a little bit lighter. G6 Dome is right in there. I can image tune it to where it looks very similar. Let me just do that really quickly and just leave it there so you can see them again. And I'm going to brighten it just a smidge. I'm just going to come in here just a smidge. And now they look pretty similar, although, there's a little bit more brightness here and a little bit more less brightness and more contrast, I think, in the AI dome. So, I would probably get the AI dome still the win there. Just, that looks really good. I don't know. We're splitting hairs here. We're really pixel peeping at this point. But I will give them a jump over the 2 megapixel sensors. Although the new sensor on the G6 Dome and AI Dome, the AI turret's a little bit better, I don't think it's enough, at least with the still image, to make me want to upgrade from the G5 sensors. I think those sensors are looking really good. So with that, let me get Andrew to walk around the office real quick and show you what it looks like with people in motion. So this is what it looks like when Andrew's walking around with the G6 Dome. Here we'll go with the AI Dome. A little bit of blurriness at distance, much more in focus when he comes into focus or comes into range. See what it looks like on the G5 Dome. Same thing, it gets a little ghosty when he goes far away out of range. And then much more visible when he's in focus or in range. Let's go with the Dome Ultra. A little bit more ghosty. You can really see him tearing there. You get that weird kind of ghosty look. Person detection happening. And again, when he gets close, much better. Let's go over to, I think that the bigger sensors of the AI and the G6 are doing better with that kind of melting. You can see it coming off of his back there. There's kind of this melting as they go. I will come back around here one more time. Looking good. And then we'll go one more time on the AI turret. Still some ghosting on that one too. Still some ghosting, but honestly, these images are also similar now. When things are steady, I can see that more detail in these bigger sensors, but let's go back to the dome for one last. Yeah, there is that ghosting there. You can see it tearing off, but you can see just much more detail in the carpet here when you get on the bigger sensors. That's it for Andrew walking around. I'm gonna have him go home now. It's a little bit late, but you can see very clearly that with the motion, there's a little bit blur with every one of the cameras. That's just inherent with things at night. You can see the difference between the G5 though and the newer sensors, just with the clarity of the image itself. There's just more detail in that bigger sensor. If I go over here to the rack over here, you can see I just see just a little bit more detail in it than I do with the smaller sensor of the G5 Dome and the other G5 sensors. Just so you look here in the squares of the carpet, it's just a little less detail there. It's also a little bit brighter there, but you can just see there's just more detail in the squares. Honestly, to tell you the truth, on all these cameras, I don't think there's a ton in it as far as the quality of the image. I probably could tune most of them to be pretty close to each other. I do think the bigger sensors of the AI turret, the G6 Dome, and the AI Dome are a little qualitatively better than those of the G5 ones. The G5 Dome, the G5 Dome Ultra, and the G5 Turret Ultra, it's just a little click down in the quality of the image. But I can still read over here DPC Dell Technologies on the side of that box. Maybe not as good as I can see on the bigger sensor, but good enough. So would I replace, any of these G5s with the AI or the G6 Dome? I probably wouldn't. But if I was buying them just based off what has the little bit better image, I would say it's the G6 and the AIs with that bigger sensor. I do, just as I'm looking at it, the AI Dome probably of all the images is my favorite here. I feel like the settings on the G6 Dome, same as they are during the day, are a little darker, and I think I like that a little bit lighter image. Now, obviously, I could just go in the software and lighten it up. All right, so with that completely unscientific review of the way that it looks at night, let's go back to the daytime. All right, so we're back. Let's wrap this thing up. My first impression here is, first of all, that all of these UniFi cameras look really nice now. There's not a ton of difference in each camera. So now we're looking more for which one fits the need of my client, which one fits the need of my installation. For us, like I mentioned before, we like to stick to 2 or 3 cameras. So for us, I think the G6 Dome, the G6 Bullet, the G6 Turret really kind of fit that bill for us. And we add in different things as needed. Am I going to run out and tell any of my clients that are using a G5 Dome that they need to replace it with a G6 Dome? No, I wouldn't say that. But if somebody is looking for those features, or they're going to add another camera, it wouldn't be a bad idea to add it. And let's just say you have a big installation of G5 Domes, and you want to add some AI features. Maybe you pepper in a few of these G6 Domes into some important locations. But for the most part, this is a new purchase decision. And just because of the AI features and the bigger image sensor, I think you just have more runway. And I think, let's just say you're doing a 5 camera installation for an extra $500. I think you're in a really good spot here with the G6 Dome to future-proof yourself, to have all the AI features turned on, to not worry about the cameras being different. And if you did run up against budgetary issues, maybe you put the G6 Dome at the front door and the back door, and you put some less expensive cameras around the office. That certainly would work. But as always, it's exciting to get another generation of cameras, and it's good to have all of our staples in the G6 lineup now. I'm excited to see the other G6 cameras that come out in the future. But if you have any questions or comments or anything you want us to test, please put those down below. As always, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.